Good morning, everyone. I'm calling to order the Economic Development Committee meeting today, January 17th, 2023, the first one of the new year and the new term. This is very exciting. Amy, please call the roll.
Sure. Chair LaPlante.
Here.
Vice Chair Galassi.
Here.
Member Rutledge.
Here.
Member Coburn.
Here.
Member Childress.
Here.
And Member Yu. Okay.
Okay, I move to approve the minutes from the Economic Development Committee regular meeting that was held on Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. Roll call, please, Amy.
Sure. Chair LaPlante.
Aye.
Vice Chair Galassi.
Aye.
Member Rutledge.
Aye.
Member Coburn.
Aye.
Member Childress.
Aye.
And Member Yu.
Can we just do a voice vote on that? So, thank you so much. My chair remarks are, I'm so excited to be the chair and to make these remarks for economic development. I'm very much looking forward to working with everyone here and also to continue working with our very valued partners, Choose DuPage and the DuPage Convention and Visitors Bureau. Just making sure everyone knows Mr. Greg Bedeloff with Choose DuPage. Beth Marchetti is ill today, but it's possible she's zooming in, but she's also a very valued partner and part of this. So what I'm thinking is we can achieve great things with this committee and always have fun doing it because this is a very dynamic and active committee. What I'd like to do is basically think of economic development. The development piece is a verb. This is going to be us actually getting out there into the community and bringing development to DuPage County. So that's what our job is on this committee. So I welcome ideas. When you are out in the community, you're representing this committee. When you're out in the community, you're representing this committee. And so if you have ideas or make connections, please bring them forward. But I think that there's so much potential here. Something I'd really like to do is grow WorkNet. And that's what I'd really like to do with that is highlight it. I was saying that there's some of the things that I wasn't aware of that they do. And if I'm not aware of it as a sitting board member and in the same building, and obviously we all have our finger on the pulse here, then that means that there's people in the community who might not be aware for sure. And I think there are some targeted new audiences that we can really focus on and highlight and grow the companies that hire people with disabilities and diversify and promote our objectives that WorkNet DuPage has. So I'm very excited about that. And we're going to be hearing an overview from the previous year, and you guys will love that presentation. So moving on, do we have any public comment, Amy?
We do not.
Okay, wonderful. Now, we hereby receive and place on file these incumbent worker training. A, incumbent worker training memo, Dry Slicker Electric Motors. B, incumbent worker training memos, Siebert Tooling Solutions. C, incumbent worker training memo, Chemring Energetic Devices.
So moved.
And I think that's all we have to do, correct, Nick?
Second.
No motion needed.
Yep, no motion needed, but thank you. I appreciate that. Next, I move to approve the change orders. Number one, change order decrease and close World Relief for $87,250.18.
So moved.
Thank you. And we can do a voice
I'll
vote
just
for
keep
this.
saying that.
Yes, I love it. I love it. You're going to be my so moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
1 second.
Sure.
Sorry, I just wanted to know why we're decreasing and closing this contract.
Okay.
Sure. So we actually have an ongoing contract with World Relief. This is more of a procedural matter from our prior grant year, closing that out, and we still have an ongoing contract. It's just going to be funded out of our current year's grant instead.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Number two, change order, decrease and close Regional Office of Education. Sheila, that's you.
So moved.
Fantastic. All in favor,
Join
say
me.
aye. Wonderful. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Lisa, and she's going to give a presentation about WorkNet Career Center.
So good morning. I know many of you know me already, but I am, for the new faces, I'm Lisa Shavak, and I am the Executive Director at WorkNet DuPage. Before maybe we get into the presentation, we're releasing our year in review actually later today after we show it to the committee here. And typically what I would do is maybe go into sort of a nuts and bolts, like very dry presentation of like, we report to DCEO and so forth, and I can still do that. And I'd be happy to have one-off conversations or do that at a subsequent meeting as well. But I thought that this would be an opportunity to really give you, to really kind of let our clients' stories tell the story of what we do for you, and I'll sort of fill in any other information as we go along. WorkNet DuPage is the single comprehensive American Job Center, career center for all of DuPage County. DuPage County serves as the fiscal agent for these grants. And so I'm therefore the director of the DuPage County Workforce Development Division. So we'll get started. So our program years always run July 1 through June 30th. So we have 2-year grants, but we have to expend the majority of those funds during that single program year. So this is a reflection of some of the key activity that took place over the course of that time. If you want to scroll down a little bit. So the report starts off with a message from our new chair here, and you can continue scrolling down here. So this year we chose to frame it as the 5 key pieces that defined our program year. So the heart and soul of everything that we do is really assisting job seekers. And we do that essentially by removing any barriers or impediments that they might have in their job search. You'll see that tag there from entry to executive level. That is something that we repeat often because we really want the community to understand that these programs are not for any one given population. They're really for a wide cross-section of the public. If you want to scroll down. Maybe. Okay, there we go. That's some of our staff. Okay, so last year from our grants, we expended $1.9 million on job training for job seekers in DuPage County. So what that means is we have 3 core grants. Those are the adult grant, the dislocated worker grant, and the youth grant. Individuals that come to us for service generally come to us because they're looking for help funding training or a school type program. We can fund eligible individuals following an assessment process for up to $10,000 per person. So last year we funded $1.9 million worth of training for job seekers. And those are the 4 key industries that training typically falls within. We're not limited to those 4, but those are the 4 that are reflected in the state economic plan, the regional economic plan, and our local plan as well. So last year was unique in that it was the first year that transportation and logistics was the biggest bucket, if you will, of where those training dollars went. That was heavily for CDL licenses for individuals wanting to become truck drivers. Information technology has historically been our biggest piece of the pie there, but this year it came in second, which like I said is unusual. Healthcare, 16% of those funds, and manufacturing and skilled trades, which includes advanced manufacturing as well as things like HVAC or other trades, was 14%. The average annual salary upon people that were exited from our program was $70,000 last year. So that kind of speaks for itself in how we're working towards pulling people out of poverty, as well as continuing and furthering the careers of people who are already on a professional path. For comparison, you see there the average salary in Illinois is a little shy of $55,000. That represents an average across all 3 grants of a 30% increase in earnings post-service completion. We helped, you can see it's really small there, but again, you're going to all have a digital copy of this. We helped people, this gives you just a sense of who comes to us. Employees who were laid off and had to search for a job for the first time in 10+ years. We're seeing a lot of that, and that's very challenging because resumes, application systems, virtual interviewing, this is all much different than it was the last time that many people had to job search. People returning to the workforce after a long break post-COVID, a lot of women re-entering the workforce, a lot of people coming out of retirement to return to the workforce. Family members struggling to make ends meet, that's representative of people who meet low income guidelines. We serve a lot of people, for example, who are receiving SNAP benefits. Young adults launching their careers, people with disabilities. As a data point for that, with our youth grant for individuals 17 to 24, over 55% of the youth we serve have a documented disability, be that a learning disability or otherwise, other developmental disabilities. Those looking for a second chance is representative of the work that we're doing for people who have a criminal background or criminal record. People who are unsure about their next step, just in general, which feels like it's just about everybody that's coming to us these days. And many more of your family and friends and neighbors throughout the county. To Chair LaPlante's point, we are not required to do this document. This is something that I started several years ago with our communications person because DCEO does not require us to do this, for example. I really like to try to use this as almost like a PR push because I've been doing this work now for the county for over 20 years. And I still to this day hear, this is the best kept secret. Yeah, I didn't know that this was here. I wish I know. So this is one of the ways that we try to get the word out that this is something that the county and the state and frankly, the federal government has to offer. And it's not a household name. If you could scroll. So these, maybe we can just scroll through them quickly, but we really like to tell the story by having our clients' stories speak for themselves. So you'll see Jashawn here, who secured his CDL and had a big income increase. Daniel, who was a dislocated worker in IT and what his story is. And on and on. We have nursing students here. Lanice secured a job as a construction management administrator following the completion of her training. Sarah was actually funded by us as a contact tracer during COVID and then secured employment thereafter and so forth. And there's a number of these, not only in this report, but if you follow our social media, we really like to use videos and client stories to get the word out on the efficacy of these programs. You see this individual actually attended a Cisco training program in IT. He wasn't sure what to do. He was considered an older worker. He was about to retire, needed to keep working. So we're trying to communicate that these programs serve basically everybody. Although there are eligibility requirements, as Mr. Bedela knows. If you could scroll down a peg there. This kind of summarizes the job seeker services in general that we do. So I mentioned the grants, and that's kind of the bedrock, but also that career planning and job search assistance. Our center post remodel, which we'll visit in a moment, can be used for people to use as office space throughout their job search. It has obviously a very fast internet connection. People can do their virtual interviews and use a number of tools at our office. The ongoing job search support, which is invaluable. And we also connect people to a wide range of other community partners. Frankly, we can't, address every need, but there are a lot of barriers that could pop up that we connect out into the community. The second piece here was the internships for young adults that we sort of rebooted this year. If you want to keep scrolling, this is one of our interns, Leanna Lynn. Her story is featured here in the report. She did an internship at Metropolitan Family Services in DuPage. There's a video present here for youth to take a look at of a recorded event that we held that was facilitated by young adult clients back in September. So how the internship program works is our business services team goes out and secures agreements with local businesses, public sector, private sector, for them to host interns. And there's a variety of different job descriptions that go along with that. The grant pays for the wages for that program. So those individuals are getting career experience and making valuable connections, while also having no cost to the employer, and it's a benefit to the employer as well. Yes, ma'am.
What is the general eligibility
For
requirement?
the youth program?
Internships.
So more times than not, there's a lot of ways that youth can be eligible. The primary way is if they meet low income guidelines, if their household meets low income guidelines. If they have a disability, so say it's an individual, which a lot of times is the case with people we serve, they might have had an IEP in high school, they're automatically eligible. If they test basic skills deficient, it's called, they're required to take a math and reading test prior to service provision. If they test below level on those, they're also eligible. And there's a number of other factors as well. They could be a young parent or a pregnant youth. They could have some kind of criminal background that would make them eligible. So it truly runs the gamut. Where the gap is in the legislation is for individuals that are in school, that are, say, in college or that graduated from college and then are kind of floating, which we probably all know some young people that might fit that description. It's difficult for us to make them eligible in a lot of cases because they have that bachelor's degree. So it's hard for us to fund additional training or to do internships. But generally, if you're thinking of like opportunity youth, that's our primary target audience. Yes.
And I was actually gonna ask the same question. Is that eligibility requirement similar for any age that you would work with?
So for our adult grant, there's an income, there's an income requirement. We have to spend at least 75% of that total grant on people who meet income guidelines. We usually go up to like 90% of the grant we expend. We usually reserve those funds for people that are income eligible. That could be SNAP benefits. It could be their household income based off household size. A dislocated worker grant, the eligibility for that is that they were affected by a layoff and were eligible for received unemployment insurance at some point. They might have exhausted that, but that would make them eligible. So those are the three primary buckets.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, is it more of a sliding scale for people? Because there are people that don't necessarily meet the income requirement, or basically what I'm asking is it for people with financial hardships? Is that what we're looking at? Circumstances?
For the adult grant or the youth grant primarily.
Adult grant.
The adult grant as well. It's called just the adult grant, the 1A grant. Generally, income plays a part, but not always. So the eligibility can get we could get kind of in the weeds with that. We do a really thorough kind of assessment process to see what all grants somebody might be eligible for.
How often are you turning people away because they don't qualify?
Not very. What we're seeing a lot of lately, and it's a part of the campaign that we've been doing, I think is why we're seeing this. We're seeing people who are working a self-sufficient job. So let's say somebody's making $50,000 as a human resource assistant or something, and they come to us and they're tired of doing that and they want to do something else. Those scenarios are not a fit generally for this program. We'll even see cases of somebody comes in and they're a burnt out attorney and they want to get a CDL license because they've always wanted to drive cross country and people are making great money doing that. Believe it or not, that we can't do because that individual already has the marketable skills they need to earn a self-sufficient household income. So it doesn't happen super often, but on occasion we do see people, and generally it's because they're already working.
Okay. I think Member Krajewski has a question.
Just real quick, because
Yeah.
I know you're stuck with all the red bureaucratic guidelines.
Yes.
Hey, if we were to give you $500,000 to put your own program together that would help in these situations where you have these one-offs and things, would that would be able to
Well,
put the program together? No,
honestly,
seriously, because that goes into, I know eventually, ROEs looking at these internship
Yeah.
programs too, but if we put it in place, we can set our own rules. And then DuPage, where some of these employers are looking for certain skills and some people are just not qualifying because they're just over all the federal limits.
I
so
like that idea.
it's interesting.
Okay,
If you had said that in 2009, 10, I would have been like, please give me as much money as you have. Member Krajewski, like, please, because we had everybody coming to us. What we're seeing right now continues to be that there's not as many people coming to us for service as one would think. Because there's just generally not as many people in the workforce, or still kind of the fallout of COVID and some of the disruption there. So yes, I'm never going to say no, we wouldn't, but my concern would be we have to address 80% of the federal grants first, every grant year, or we have to give money back. And I don't know, we would have to kind of figure out if there's the volume. You mentioned the ROE program, which, we closed out the change order earlier in the meeting. Their numbers for that program are relatively low also. And we did try to fund them, but the red tape kind of got in the way with how the school system works.
Right, so they want to expand that program. I know Darlene, probably to Amber now, they want to expand that program, but they would look for funding from us so they could do the program because of, like you said, they couldn't get the tape in there. So that's a separate issue. I would ask the chairwoman to meet with the ROE and see about that internship program.
I would absolutely love it. I had actually talked to Joan about something similar, and that I feel like there's one targeted demographic that's not listed here, which is new because of COVID, right? So those are the kids who tried college, but they had to sit in their dorms the whole time. And so there was a really high turnover rate. And that's something very, very unusual, obviously, just completely caused by the pandemic, where I think there's, I just know anecdotally, plenty of kids who are sort of struggling to find their feet because of that. And I wonder if there's something we can do to address that very timely issue, right? And so I do think there's room for that. I would love to involve the schools and So let's see if there's a place for that too, like a landing pad.
Yeah, absolutely, because it is a gap in the legislation.
It is.
And the federal act is up for reauthorization, and this is something that workforce boards across the country are trying to push, like some changes to the
Yes.
youth program,
Right.
but you know, who knows how
Well,
that'll
that's
shake
what I would
out.
love to, I would really love to focus on that. That's something that I see as a gap. You know, that's a hole in the net, basically,
is.
right?
Indeed. Yeah.
Okay, Mike, Mr. Childress, yes.
Do you have anything that addresses returning citizens?
Yes, we do. We've actually set one of our strategic goals, kind of our internal goals, is to drive those numbers up even further. So we've been working closely with the Sheriff's Office and Just of DuPage, also organizations like Honest Jobs, we have a connection with. So we're seeing great success there, and we have been serving more year over year of individuals that have some kind of criminal record. We do that. We also, I'm trying to be the first in the state to launch a program specifically with returning citizens in mind called transitional jobs, where we could effectively subsidize employment for a trial period for employers. So that's another thing that we're working on.
Remember you.
Oh, thank you. So I was gonna wait till the end, but since everybody's asking questions now, I really wanted to know how people find you. Do they just do Google searches, or is there a certain pathway? Because I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can promote this further with different populations, target different people, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a excellent question. So we find that the primary three ways that people find us is through online searching. So we've put a lot of effort into our website and into SEO, and so that we kind of come up right at the top of the list. So definitely online and social media, word of mouth, referrals from family and friends, previous other people that have used the program. Another one is the training providers. So the state has a list of eligible training providers. Different training providers or schools, including College of DuPage, of course, are on that list. You can apply to be on that list if you offer types of training that lead to these types of high growth career paths. So a lot of times somebody might go to the school first, and then the school refers them to us.
So that's what I was addressing in my chair remarks. And another idea that, oh, that's right, you weren't here. That's what we talked about. Another idea is I'm going to use what's in my district is the Lombard Parent Series, which reaches so many schools and teachers. That's, I think, a fantastic opportunity to reach those students that we were discussing and their families, because that's something that will get into a ton of homes, obviously.
That's right. Digital backpacks and things like that for anyone who has school-age kids. You get all those emails. We've done that. So we're always kind of trying to think of every which way that we can get the word out about
We can
the
help with
programs.
that.
But yes, we would. That's certainly would be wonderful for me.
So a couple follow-up questions to Michael and Ina's question. Is there a good communication line with, like the sheriffs, as people are being released, like, are they made well aware of your service?
Yeah, so we've been working with Mike Berry and the team at Just of DuPage for a while. Actually, we wanted to we're working on getting in there to do sort of an orientation for people that are likely going to be released soon. Of course, it's a moving target. But yes, we work really closely with Mike Berry, and that's been effective, as well as the probation department. And that's an effort that we've been trying to partner closer and closer and closer together on. So we do have those contacts and connections there. It's bearing fruit, and I anticipate that over the next 2 to 3 years, it's just going to keep going up and up.
Okay. And then kind of a couple, Brian's comment or question. I'm just, I met with Greg, and it does seem like, across the country, but even in DuPage, we're just at a shortage of, employees all for every type of position. I'm hearing that with, business owners, whether it's a restaurant or whatever the job is. And it does kind of feel like what Brian mentioned, like, we're servicing a certain demographic, like if maybe we could, whether it's, students that didn't succeed in college for whatever reason, or people that are wanting to get back in the workforce post-COVID, or even moms wanting to get back in the workforce, like they probably, some of those people may not qualify based on eligibility requirements.
No, probably those examples, yes, yeah, they would. Like the moms returning to the workforce, we're seeing a lot of that now.
But even if they're not necessarily low income, like, even just people that might be more middle income, like could you service those people just to try to help bridge the gap between some of the projects Greg is working on, trying to attract businesses to DuPage, like if we could have a better pipeline or increase the pipeline of, eligible employees that we could, service.
Yeah, I think generally, most people that are out of work, we can find, not all the time, but we can find a way. If there were additional funds available, then ostensibly we would be able to fund those individuals for training as well, certainly to your point.
Yeah.
The larger issue right now that we've been seeing for a couple of years really is exactly what Mr. Bedelov also here is going out to companies. We're talking to the same companies oftentimes too. It's just, there's not enough people to go around. It's kind of like, where did all the people go? And so it's less, it is an issue that there are people that fall kind of through the cracks. Potentially, I don't have numbers around that.
Okay.
But it's more of an issue that just in general, there's not enough people that are pursuing employment or programs to get better employment and that.
Let's let her finish her presentation.
I'll kind of cruise through because
Yeah,
everybody
and then
will
we can
have
come
this.
back
So you'll
just in
have
case
it,
anyone
and
has
you
to
can-
leave.
You can dig into
Yeah.
it. If you want to continue scrolling down there, Michelle, we'll go to the third piece. Here's another story about one of our youth interns. The third piece here is about businesses, and it speaks a little bit further to piece 3, which is about upskilling workers. So the incumbent worker training grants that you saw for information only filing in your agenda, incumbent worker training grants reimburse companies up to $25,000 of the cost of training their existing workforce. So what we have done, here's an example of that. You can keep going. This past program year, we issued $313,000 to business, 23 different companies to train 130 workers. This is a key strategy for businesses right now because if you, again, if they're not finding the workers that they need or they don't have people applying for positions that they can train, they're training the people that they have to take on more advanced responsibilities in that. And you can continue scrolling. There's a couple company testimonials here that I encourage you to take a look at when we release this. And we'll move on to the fourth piece down below, which is a national dislocated worker grant that we were issued. And what we did with this is really try to broaden that outreach again, some of the things that we've been talking about to make people more aware. We did that through 2 different means. That's the West Chicago Library there that you were just looking at. You could keep going. Sorry, I know it's a little awkward with the scroll. So we started what's called the Skill Up DuPage campaign to try to generate buzz. And that entails community-based presentations. We worked with the county's GIS department to pinpoint locations in the county that have individuals that are most in need or in pockets where there's less household internet access. And we brought the information right out into the community through a series of presentations all throughout the year. We worked very closely with libraries and other community organizations on this. If you want to keep scrolling, there's some photos here. And then the other key piece of this, a little bit more there, Michelle, were these kiosks that the grant allowed us to invest in. These are located, there's 3 currently on the community with 2 more on the way. And the idea here is that individuals can connect directly with us on site at a library, a certain type of organization, a food pantry, etc. Keep scrolling, there's a few more photos there. And then the last piece I alluded to earlier was with the renovation of our, the community part of our office. And it's very welcoming, it's very professional, and there's a ton of resources that people can access in the new office. There it is under construction, and it just gives some information on that as well. So I know we're up on at 9 o'clock here. I'm happy to take as many questions as there are as time permits.
Yeah, so have we evaluated the baby boomer work pool that left the employment market prior to COVID, well, just during COVID? Because I would anticipate now they're kind of feeling a little bit more comfortable about coming back and obviously bringing their skills with them. The baby boomer population is huge,
Yes.
huge, and it really does overwhelm the millennial which is a much smaller population. So have we targeted that at all, or kind of
You
look
know,
for positions that need to be filled by someone who can handle those skills?
so we are seeing, historically in DuPage County, we've always served, in the parlance of the legislation, it's older workers or 55 plus. We serve a lot of people that fall into that category, and we're seeing people that are returning post-COVID, or that maybe we're making ends meet through whatever means, retirement funds and such, and now are looking to come back. So we are actively assisting in job search. We're putting people into training programs, all of these services for that population as well. It's a big chunk. I had the number here somewhere. But yes, there's a large percentage of people that get served that fall into that category.
Yes, members over.
Thank you. Really quick question, just to fill this gap, to look for new workers and, people who are seeking jobs. Have you guys connected with refugee organizations and migrant organizations? Because I'm sure they need.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we work very closely with World Relief specifically, not only for the youth contract that you saw in the agenda, but also adult population. We do very close work with them as well. And we're seeing a lot of Ukrainian individuals. Right now, about 22 and counting. We just held last Thursday, an orientation specifically for Ukrainian individuals. We had an interpreter there through LARC, DuPage Federation, to kind of help facilitate that. But yeah, that's definite. And the outcomes for those individuals are really astounding. I mean, they generally see like a 40% increase in earnings post-training.
Wonderful. Thank you. Good question.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're doing a great job with the program you're doing. I still think we need to look at maybe like a pilot program from the businesses in DuPage, because some of the jobs that a lot of these businesses are looking for, advanced manufacturing, IT, and there's nothing there. And how, maybe Greg could probably talk to this, how we go about identifying how to get people trained up in that area for, again, they won't qualify for your federal programs, but some program we can put in, because those people are out there, they can't find the people in DuPage, and we got to figure long-term how we're going to train them, how we're going to find them, how we're going to get them here, or they're not going to be located in DuPage County. They're going to go somewhere else where they can find the talent.
Yeah, I will say
some program that can, and maybe it's more Greg talking to that end, is you know how to put the program together, and through chairwoman, you can put some pilot program to test it, but get our big companies in here and tell us what they need, and then figure out how to get it.
Yeah, I will say that, in my opinion is that there's things like apprenticeships, and that our eligibility for the adult and dislocated worker grant is really pretty comprehensive as far as making people eligible. It's really the youth where there's that gap. So the program like the ROE, but if we're talking about people that are above the age of 24, generally there's some way or other that we can make people eligible, unless they're already working in an established career somewhere, like I said, in which case they might not want to make that jump anyway.
You don't have to explain, I just say we look into it.
Yeah. No, we certainly,
Last question, has Mayor Marcucci Pace reached out to you on the CDLs?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah,
they're
I'm in
looking
touch
for
with Chris
CDLs, and you
Rose.
guys are training them all the time.
Yep, yeah.
Just send them over there.
I'm in touch with Chris
Okay.
Rose all the time,
Thank you,
yeah,
Lisa.
about
Thank you.
that as well.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Thank you so much.
Yes,
Lisa.
and I know that this is a lot, it's a big program and everything, so please, any additional information or questions, I'm more than happy to talk and provide any data that we didn't cover today.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
That was terrific. Do we have any old business? Seeing none, do we have any new business? Yes, Member Coach.
I was curious about, I really enjoyed the Fine Arts Festival a couple of years ago. That was a lot of fun, and it brought in revenue,
Yeah.
and it was just great to see everybody so happy after COVID. I was wondering if there's a possibility to bring that back through this committee, maybe? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, we're going to look into that. Definitely. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. We're definitely, yeah. fantastic. And I'm sure we've got a third and a fourth over there too. There we go. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to look into that for
I don't
sure.
vote for the record.
You can just-
I know what you're talking about.
Us.
It was my way. For the record, I do not vote.
Because you're the one's gonna be in charge of.
For the record, I do not vote.
Exactly. He doesn't vote, but he pushes. There you go. He gets behind us and he pushes. So,
Wow.
yeah, absolutely. There's so many things like that, that anything that drives economic development, that's what we're looking for. And I think the more creative we are, the more we put our lived and professional experiences to work, the better we're going to be. And the stronger, obviously, the economy is going to be in DuPage County. So thank you. Okay, if there's no other questions, then I move to adjourn this meeting.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. This meeting is adjourned.